Apart from positional parameter, we also have optional parameter. An optional parameter are divided into two. The first one is the positional optional parameters, and the second one is the named optional parameter. What is optional parameter? Optional parameters are parameters that are not required when calling a function. In my last example, you notice that when I was calling my function, I was mandated to pass two arguments because I was using positional parameter. But in optional parameter, you are not always mandated to pass parameter whenever you call the function. Let's start with positional optional parameters. Now let's create a function that greets, but does not just greet with only your name, but also greets with your title. So we have void greet, and now let's pass the first parameter. The first parameter, we're going to make it a positional parameter. We have string name. And to make use of positional optional parameter, we make use of our square bracket. Inside this square bracket, whatever parameter that we want to make optional, we can write it here. So we can say string of type nullable, and then we can say title. Remember what we said about this type of parameter? It is optional, and that's why I made it nullable. So in a situation whereby I don't pass a value to this parameter, it takes a non-value, and then our code still works. And now let's have our block of code. So we can have something like this. We can say if title is not equals to null, we can now print. In a situation whereby I pass an argument for this my positional optional parameter, then I want to execute this block of code. So we can have hello, and then we get title, and also we can have the name printed. But in a situation whereby this is null, then let's have something else, and have else, and then we can just print the name. You can say hello, and let's have the name. So now let's call our greet function. So we can come here and say greet, and now we are mandated to pass the positional parameter, which is just the name. So I'm just going to add Victor. Yeah. Once I add semicolon to the end of my code, I'm no longer getting error. So this is not compulsory. It's an optional parameter. If I run this now, you can see I have hello Victor. And the reason I have hello Victor is because this is null. But in the situation whereby I come here and then I add maybe Mr. to this, and I run this, you can see I have hello Mr. Victor. That's how you work with your positional optional parameter. Another thing you can do with this positional optional parameter is that you can assign default value to it. What do I mean by that? I can come here, and because I don't want to always pass it as an argument, I can just come here and then I can add Mr. to this. And I can say equals to Mr. And let me remove this from here. So like this, if I run my code, I will still keep on getting hello Mr. Vic. And since I've assigned a default value to it, I don't necessarily have to have this condition statement again. Also, after setting a default value like this, we can still decide to change the value. So I can come here and then I don't want to use that Mr. again. I can change it from Mr. to bro, and then I can run this. And now I have hello bro Victor. So this is how we make use of our positional optional parameter in that. Now let's talk about the second type of optional parameters in function, which is the named optional parameter. The optional named parameter are wrapped with curly brackets. So instead of we using square brackets, we use curly brackets for our optional named parameter. And the advantage of this optional named parameter is that anytime we want to make use of this parameter, we can easily access them by name. So we can say name, so we can say title. So we can easily access them with whatever name we used when setting the parameter. So I can come here now, and then I can say bro. So if you run this now, I'll still get hello bro Victor. So let me remove this default. And we can have it like this also. So whenever I want to assign a value to this parameter, meaning that I want to add an argument to my method, which I'm calling here, I simply make use of the name which I gave that particular parameter. And that's why it's called named optional parameter. I access this using the name. So I have title. So beyond that, I can come here, I can still add age, I can tell you, beyond that, I can still come here, I can add int age, and then let's make this nullable. If I want to assign a value to age, I come here and I say age, and let's give it an age, 28. So that's how we make use of the named optional parameter. There are a lot of advantage to using this named optional parameter, especially when you have a lot of parameters that you're going to be working with. Unlike positional parameter that you have to arrange it by position. So let's say we have name as the first parameter in our bracket. When we are passing an argument, particular parameter, I must ensure that it comes first also, and that's why it's called positional parameter. So let's say for here we have in double height. And let's add comma here. I can't come and put the height as the first thing. Let's say the height is 6.4. I will get an error. So it must be in the same position whereby it was when I was setting the parameter. So I have to make it 6.4 here. And like that, we're good. But unlike named parameter, I can decide to remove the name from this place, and I can put it here, and then I won't get error. So maybe while you're writing your function, you can't remember the way you set the parameter. It's of greater advantage when you use named optional parameter, that when you're passing your argument to it, you can just access it using the name which you have set for the parameter, and then you assign whatever value you want to assign to it. Another advantage is that it helps you to improve readability, and it makes the function self-explanatory. So if someone else is working on your code, it becomes self-explanatory.